right, welcome to Inside the Wave. I am with Chandler Lewis for our third episode of our four-part series on working and parenting child athletes through different age groups and phases through life. So we started at 3 to 5 years old, and this episode we're going to 11 to 14, which is fun. It's like those middle school years. What were your middle school sports? Were you swimming already?
I think I quit everything in 8th grade. Like I was playing basketball at
Yeah.
a pretty high level, tennis and swimming.
You're tall. I feel like that works for you.
Yeah, like I did AU
Okay.
and I tried to balance between basketball and swimming, but obviously my skills were getting neglected in basketball because I wasn't my main goal was to go to swim practice. So my coaches in basketball were like, "You need to come to more practices." And then my coaches in swimming were like, "You need to come to more practices. You're suffering."
Oh God.
And so it was like, I'm trying to manage the two, but you can't really manage the two at a high level. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it's tough, especially when you get to those sports that do have year-round athletics, like club
Yeah.
teams and whatnot. Like I played football, and football didn't really have that. It's like you have your football season, and then it's like lifting in the off season,
Yeah.
right? Um, I wrestled. Wrestling is more that now, but it wasn't that big back then. Who's if it was your choice, what would have you? Did you choose? Was it your
It
choice?
was definitely my choice. I mean, the reason why I chose it because I was better at swimming than I was
Okay.
basketball.
Like, was it your choice, or do your coaches make you choose?
It was definitely my choice.
Okay.
Because I loved practice for swimming. I loved to train. Like
Yeah.
I liked going to swim practice. I liked basketball practice, but I enjoyed swimming more. And
Okay.
at some point, I knew that I would have to make a decision to choose one. Um, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not
Yeah.
playing basketball anymore. I slowly got built out of the rotation and I was playing less minutes and I
Oh,
was like,
sure.
fuck this.
Yeah. So then you went to go start swimming at Trader, or
Yep.
you just
I was
continue
swimming.
continue
So
to
I
swim
swam
there?
for a club that was in the Cedarburg region called Ozaki Aquatics,
Okay.
which has numerous of athletes at the high level.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're very good as well. And then I switched to Schrader my freshman year in high school.
Nice. And then you're a bulldog.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Very cool. So I'm excited to dig into this. We're gonna do like similar format that we did last time. We're gonna go through our acronym that we use at our academy, PIES: physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially, to understand where the kids are at. And then we'll talk about athletic building blocks, how to approach building athletes at that age, and then dig into competition, how to support them in competition, tips for the parents, things like that. So let's go to pies first. And our first one, P, physical. Man, I feel like kids at this age, they are like relearning their bodies
Yeah.
because they are, man, awkward. Like they don't realize like how big they're getting, how fast they're growing. Um, it's changing at lightning speed, and you kind of get that awkwardness. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean,
You're tall.
for me, I
Were
was
you like were you like shooting up, or were you
yeah,
already super tall guy at
like
11?
8th grade was my growth spurt.
Man.
Like, and it was like awkward. And, like I had like hip pain. And I see that similar cycle with like a lot of boys that I coach.
Yeah.
And it's on the opposite side, I see with a lot of girls. Like you'll see a 12-year-old girl that's like 6 foot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then they're next to like 5 foot boys, 4'11" boys. Then eventually you go back at 14, that boy is 6'1".
I was just talking to one of our girls at our academy is a wrestler at Webster,
Mhm.
and I was talking to the parents around just like how big of a difference kids are at that age.
Yeah,
Like kids that haven't started going through that transition are still like so small.
yeah,
And then there's ones that are like starting to be strong and like put on height and put on weight and put on muscle.
yeah. That's what I mean. That's for me as a coach. It's like the puberty
Yeah.
like time. You really don't know what's gonna happen. You really can't like you can't put a lot of stock into an athlete
Yeah.
at 11 years old pre-puberty. we have no clue, especially on the boys' side. It's like late developers are happen all the time.
Mhm.
On the girls' side, um, there's you can kind of get a sense in the earlier age, like at this 11, 12,
Yeah.
you can really get a sense that this kid has great skills, even though they're pre-puberty. Like you can tell that the kid is gonna develop.
Yeah.
On the boys, it's hard to kind of judge, you
Yeah.
know?
Now as a parent and coach, like, supporting kids that are in this super awkward stage as they're going through it, the big things I look at is, like, essentially creating drills for them to relearn how to use their body,
Yeah.
right? Like, working on balance, working on posture, um, jumping, landing, acceleration, just like movement. What sort of stuff do you like working on with this age group, knowing how clumsy they can be because they're so, like, just awkward at this stage?
Yeah. I mean, in the water, it's for us is still skill development.
Yeah.
Like it has to be skill development. And those building blocks of those skills in the water are like critical at this age. Most people in the swimming community think the opposite, like it's time to train, like we need to
Mhm.
increase their engine. And I've always felt, and our club has felt, that this is more of the age of building skills, because if you have foundational skills at 16, 17, 18, you can really train.
Yeah, for sure.
And at 11, 12, there's kids throughout the country that are doing enormous amount of volume of work, and they get fast, very fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think about long-term development, and I think the skill-based work is super important. So if we can build foundational skills in the water, like long term, what's gonna happen? We don't know, but we know that skills are gonna be better off than like let's build the engine.
It
When it comes to like outside the water, like my experience with kids outside the water, it's like the 13, 14-year-old boys are so awkward. Can't
Dude,
even
it's
walk and
man. Yeah, just said it's like redeveloping all those movement patterns. It's really funny. There's always this meme that goes around of like, you want to see the best squat in the world, watch a 2-year-old
yeah,
squat, and it's amazing. But man, you want to see the worst squat in the world? Ask a boy in puberty to do a squat.
yeah,
It is the most atrocious thing. Like, and if you put weight on that, they're going to get crushed and die. Like,
yeah,
man, like toes are super splayed out, like heels are flying off the floor, super hunchbacked. I'm
yeah.
like, oh God, we have to retrain all your movement patterns because you're in a new body.
Yeah, and I used to start now, in my position, I don't really coach kids in the weight room anymore.
Yeah.
We go to outside sources, but I used to take on kids at 13 years old
Yeah.
to strength train, and that was the biggest thing with the boys. It's like they wanna throw on weight, they wanna get
See,
to the next
you
movement.
get a PVC pipe.
Yeah, and it was really important to me that I'm, like, introducing movement patterns that are solid and good
Yeah.
for the same idea that we do in the water for long-term development. So,
I remember, Cedarburg was actually the Cedarburg football, I think it was pretty like cutting edge back when I was in high
mhm,
school. I don't know what they were doing. They must have been going to like seminars out on like the East and West Coast to like get the latest and greatest. But we had a lot of like good, we had a lot of GPP style training back then when we were
interesting.
doing like Tabatas and hit workouts. But most of it was just body weight stuff. Like, hey,
Yeah,
you're gonna do burpees and squats and push-ups and stuff like that. Um, like looking back on it, and that was 2000, I graduated 2006. So to like be doing that sort of stuff back in 2004, 5,
yeah,
um, was pretty unheard of. Um, and they did a good job with it, I think. But it is different. You can't just be an adult and take your developing teenager and be like, oh, we're just going to do the same exercises.
yeah,
Especially if you're talking about like barbell loaded stuff.
yeah. I rarely ever put barbells on kids'
Oh,
backs
for sure.
or, like, think about putting barbells on kids' backs.
Yeah.
I'd rather them get stronger in a single leg movement
Hmm.
than put a barbell.
Yeah, because they still need that. They need to develop that balance and all that stuff again.
Yeah,
Um, Intellectually, they're that they were sponges and now they're even more sponge like. Um, they try to cheat the system. I
in what
noticed,
way for you?
man, like they're more worried about. winning
Mm.
than developing skills. Um, so if your objective is to like get to the finish line and there's 3 steps you should take along the way, in a practice scenario where there's minimal resistance, they'll skip, middle steps.
Yeah.
And then they'll go try to do it against full resistance and they're like, "Oh wait, this doesn't work." Um, I think though, one of the things that we do, especially at that age, is introduce ecological skill development, where we put 2 kids in a training scenario. So we have a starting position. We tell them what the finish line is, and we create constraints around it. Like you can
Mm.
only use your hands, right? Or you can't use your legs. You have to stay on the ground. You can't stand up. And then we say go, right? And it's for the kids to figure out how to get from the starting line to the finish line in the most effective way possible, which is cool because then the kids are fighting, but within constraints, and it just develops skills on its own. But what it really does is give kids ownership over their own learning, especially when you ask the kid right after that scenario, "Hey, why did that work? Or
Mhm.
why didn't that work? Or what do you think we can change?" So I think intellectually they love ownership over their actions and their own learning. And I think the challenge is how do you keep developing this intrinsic motivation to learn
Yeah.
at this age? Man, because school's just like stuffing it down their throats.
Yeah. The idea of constraint, we use constraint, I call it constraint training.
Yeah.
Similar idea to you. And for us, there's constraints are different. But I always at this age is there has to be forced skills.
Yeah.
Like this is a forced skill. So for example, in swimming, a forced skill is I'm making your hand do this. So for example, I'm giving you a golf ball. You have to hold that
Oh,
golf
yeah,
ball,
yeah, yeah.
and it's naturally going to put your hand in the water in a very forced position.
Yeah.
So like finding forced skills is one thing, and then finding ways for kids to learn without me directly telling them is kind of the goal. So for us, it's stuff like you're going to count your strokes. So let's say I take 15, and on this next repeat, you're going to take -1, and you got to find a way. And we're going to maintain simmer dolphin kicks off the wall, and you got to find a way to take -1. That's a that's a skill that they have to think about. They're building the ownership, but the idea of ownership in coaches at this level is super, super important where you're asking them the question, they're coming back with their feedback, and then you build off of that versus just telling them, you know? It's like, "What did you feel there?"
Yeah.
"Well, I don't know what I feel." "Well, on this next one, I want you to let me know what you are working on versus me directly telling you."
I
Like
think it's a lot like at this age, kids just want independence
yeah,
and ownership, right? They're starting to realize that they're not the little kids anymore. I feel like this is the age where parents will start, at least in Cedarburg, start letting the kid like stay home while mom goes gets groceries,
yeah,
like stay home alone and stuff like that. So they start getting these little bits and pieces of ownership over what they do. Um, Man, even in this, like I just like giving them ownership over the workouts. Like, hey, we're gonna do a workout at the end of class. Which workout do you want to do? Right. Um, cool. You want to do deck of cards where each suit is a different exercise? Cool. You guys pick the exercise. They love that shit.
yeah.
If I tell them to do a workout and I pick the workout, they're like, "No, we don't know how I feel about this, coach." But if I'm like, "You guys pick it," they love it.
That's funny. That's funny. I actually see the opposite
Oh,
in
really?
a lot, and especially with the girls that I coach.
Sure.
And I think this is definitely like a gender thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and or maybe it's the environment that we created with athletes. I've tried to figure this out, and I've always gone back to like, this is something that we have to teach is ownership.
yeah,
Like, there's not enough ownership in the athlete. Um, I mean, one of the best girls I ever coached. I got her when she was 13, and she's now in collegiate program.
Previous experience when she was 13, when you got her, or
Uh,
never swam before?
no, she was. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
she's extremely gifted.
Okay,
She was one of the best in the country,
great.
um, for numerous years. But she went on to into a collegiate program, and at that age of a 13 and 14, all I was trying to do was build ownership with her,
Yeah,
trying to build ownership, and it made her go crazy. Where She wanted me to tell her at all times what she should be doing versus like, "Hey, what do you think?" That type of communication
Yeah, yeah,
interaction,
yeah.
not just with her, but so many athletes that I've came across. And usually they're high performers. They want to be told what to do, but you're trying to build the ownership of this is also your thing, like autonomy of
Yeah,
yours.
yeah. I mean, man, something I struggle with. Like I could certainly well do all of my programming around like lifting and stuff like that. I just don't want to. I want someone else to tell me what to do.
Yeah. But it's like guided, you
Yeah.
know? We
And
always
that
ask the question to
that's
the
true.
athletes is what's the role, what's the job of the athlete?
Yeah.
What's the job of the coach? The coach's job isn't to just tell you what to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're guiding you,
Yep.
they're supporting you. They're there to help you or guide you to make decisions, but they're not there to just make you do things.
Yeah.
Your job as an athlete is prepare,
Yep.
perform, do take some autonomy, act with integrity.
Yeah.
That's your job as
Yeah.
a
Ask questions, tell the
yes,
coach feedback, like how you're doing, how it felt.
right. It has to be a relationship between coach and athlete where
Mm,
both the coach and the athlete are working through communication, not just the coach telling the athlete what to do.
yeah.
You know?
What about emotions at this age? So we did PIE, emotional. What do you see with kids' emotions at this age, especially with puberty and
Yeah,
stuff going on? And I'm sure it's much different gender based
yeah,
as well.
definitely different gender base. I think with the girls, especially 11, 12 within our program is like there's a lot of um, you know, uh, at the 11, 12 level, I feel that especially the high level that you go to, it's like this is when the big emotions are coming out. And I don't know if that's a parental
Yeah.
thing, but the crying,
Yeah.
the expectation level might be higher. But I feel with the 11, 12 age group is this is when as a coach, you can, you want to allow kids to be frustrated, but you're trying to guide them to be like, hey, there's a better way to go about this versus crying or quitting or throwing your cap or quitting practice or leaving practice.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of emotional swings, right?
Yeah,
Like they'll be super confident and then they're not confident at all. Or it ties to the next one, which is social, but um even like emotional social dynamics of
yeah,
like, man, a rough day at school with like socially with friends will mostly will show up during training
yeah,
all of the time. Like a kid will walk in, I'm like, man, what happened at school today?
yeah.
And it's always like something with some friends during some period at school. I'm like, well, that's why we're here. Like, leave that there.
They're super external. There's
Always. Yeah.
a lot of comparison, and then that brings on emotions of, well, I'm not good, or I do this and they do that. Um, I think there's a lot of coaching opportunities though
Yeah.
at that level, where if you have a really good, solid coach that can kind of navigate that process,
Yeah.
like kids learn a lot through that. Like
Hmm.
this is okay, I'm comparing myself to XYZ. A good coach would step in and say, all right, let's think about ourselves. This is what happens when you think about other people. There's a lot of coaching opportunities
Yeah.
and parental opportunities there.
There's a lot of peer approval dynamics
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
age. I think you run into a lot of kids wanting to change sports because their friends play a sport and I want
Yeah.
to do that sport because that's what our friendship group does. Um, Man, which is a challenge too. I remember like when I was in wrestling season, I would be friends with the wrestlers, but then when wrestling season was done, I'd be friends with different people just because I wasn't in wrestling anymore. I
Yeah.
wasn't around them all the time. Um, but man, that's always a challenge to navigate with kids is their social cliques
Yeah. This is
that
when we
they're
have
in.
this is usually when we have kids quitting
For sure.
for us.
Yeah, us too. It's like the one of the hardest ages. I think for a few reasons, right? Like to one where we started our conversation, um, a lot of sports pressure the kids to be like, you need my sport or nothing, right?
Yeah,
Like you need to do just this.
for sure.
Man, um I have a couple pseudo nieces, fake nieces. Um, they're real people,
Yeah.
but not actually my nieces, but they might as well be. And they run into run into this in sports a lot where it's like, they're trying to make their own decisions around athletics, and then the coach shames them because they tell the coach, "Hey, I don't want to play anymore." And they're trying to take ownership over what they want to do because they're in so many different activities. And they're like, "I don't want to do everything. I just want to do what I like."
Yeah.
And there's all this social pressure around it, like making those decisions that makes it really hard for them.
Yeah.
Versus, when I, the kid that leaves my academy, my number one rule is like, you just need to have something else. Like, I don't care if you quit jujitsu. I mean, I care, but I care more about them that I do them doing my sport,
Yeah.
right? Like, go ahead, quit jujitsu. What are you going to do instead?
Yeah.
Basketball? Awesome. You're going to just try out other things for a little while? That's great. Do it. Will I be there to support you through it? Might you want to come back to jujitsu? Absolutely. Um, but I'm very much, at least in our program, because we're not crazy competitive, but we can make huge impacts on kids. I'm not the one to, when a kid turns 12 or 13, be like, "Hey, you should consider quitting basketball so you could do jujitsu year round."
Yeah.
I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
you do what you love, man. Like, it's up to you. Um, and your guys' program's different than ours, right? You're a very competitive
Yeah.
pro
Unfortunately, I think
program,
that
right?
one of the reasons why there's so much drop off at the age 11 to 14 for us is because there is a lot of social comparison,
Yeah,
right? And naturally, as you progress in a program, especially as you get higher into the program, there's going to be drop off in skill, talent, but also like the way that we separate our groups. Like we have three different 11, 12 groups.
yeah,
And at the top end are 11, 12s that are competing. Maybe they're going to regional or even
yeah,
national competitions and they're training 5 times a week, and then we'll have an 11, 12 group that's not there yet. Their skills aren't there. And if we would do them a disservice to put them in the top level group,
yeah.
whether that's skills or attendance or just whatever.
Level of commitment,
Right.
right? Maybe they
Level
do
of
wanna do
commitment.
other.
We can't put kids in a group if they're coming once a week with
Yeah,
kids that are coming 5 times a week. So naturally, just the way that we displace our groups, it's like it puts some kids in a position where they're gonna naturally decide to say, "Meh, I don't want to do this. I'm going to do this other thing.
yeah.
And that's just the way that our sport is set up.
But it's like you're still giving them a chance to get there,
Yeah.
right? And it's a really smart way to structure it. I mean, martial arts, like, we have different levels,
Right.
I teach an advanced class for our kids, and the advanced class is for kids that have been doing it longer, that have developed more skill, that wanna be more competitive and wanna have a different level of commitment to the sports side of it than others.
Right.
And we nurture that. And then in our other program, if they want to get to that athletic side and get to that advanced class, we'll support them in that. But if they don't, we don't force them,
Yeah.
right? We're going to give them every single opportunity that everyone else had. But um, they'll either decide that they want to stick with it as a hobbyist, or they want to stick with it as a competitor, or maybe it's just not for them.
Right. Yeah. It's important as a business that you have that.
Yeah.
You have to offer programming for everyone. And I always tell that to parents too is like, there's a place for everyone here.
Yeah.
We don't want to do kids a disservice by putting kids at this level with this level.
Yeah.
It's not going to help your kid. But naturally, I think because these kids at 11, 12, 13, 14 are so external, is if they're
Hmm.
not placed in the top group, they look
Yeah.
at themselves as less, and
Yeah.
then the parent comes in with like, hey, well, why can't they be in the top group or whatever, and then it just dominoes into other things that are just not that
Yeah.
I don't think helps the athlete. We've had so many kids go through the program where at 11, 12 they were in the lowest age group and then they just kept going, kept going, kept going, and they ended up going to Division 1 schools.
Yeah.
So it's I really I really value that there's places for everyone.
Well, I think you do a good job with those 3 groups in creating a social setting
Yeah.
for all of those kids to be supportive and and successful,
Right. Right.
right? Where if you just have that one giant group, that's a little bit harder because not everything social is communicated,
Yeah.
right? It's even just a social status or athletic status name up on the scoreboard, or
Right.
what's it called where all the times are listed? Scoreboard still?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scoreboard.
like your name's still up there, right? And getting them the opportunity to like actually see their name up there.
Yeah.
Uh man, so that's the pie side of things. Let's talk about like specific athletic development. What should parents be looking for? What should coaches be doing with kids this age to help them become better athletes? Not just, I mean, we have two totally different sports between
Yeah.
jujitsu and swimming, right? Um, and with you being a personal trainer, former personal trainer, kind of still a personal trainer in a
Yeah.
group
A little
setting,
bit.
right? Um, you said you don't like barbells. Like, what sort of stuff do you like doing with kids at this age? What are you
Yeah.
working on to
Well,
help them?
there's such a wide range of skill,
That's
you
true.
know? So it's like I can't I can't if you got a 14-year-old boy or I would say girl. I think at this age girls are way more advanced than boys.
Well,
At least
man,
what I've
and if
seen.
you take a 13-year-old, like you could have a 13-year-old that's been done with puberty for a
Yes.
while, and one that hasn't even started yet.
Right. So it can be awkward because there's so many levels of skill.
Yeah.
But the introductory of strength training, I think, is important. It's super important. Uh, I would I value strength training for this age group
At
tremendously.
least getting them to love it,
Yes,
right?
and
Because
value it, and
it's gonna be super important in the next one.
right, super important. And the more that they're consistent with it and value it, the better it's going to set them up for long term success. And it doesn't have to be that advanced. Twice a week for 30 minutes
Yeah.
is great. And it could be basic movements, single leg movement, a push movement, a pull movement, whether that's loaded or not, at
Hmm.
least they're going through the basic movement patterns. But an 11, 12-year-old that has never strength trained before is going to be totally different than a 13, 14-year-old that's been strength training for
Yeah.
a couple years, and uh, I've done trap bar deadlifts with 14-year-olds
Oh yeah.
and then they can totally do it and it's good and it is helpful. With an 11-year-old, you can do trap bar deadlift, but they got to be foundationally good.
Yeah.
Usually it's going to be PVC, learn how to hinge.
Yeah.
Um, but I believe that you can add loaded movements
Yeah.
at this age.
Yeah. Like run. What is it? Run, jump, crawl, hinge, squat,
Yep.
press, pull,
Yep. Yep.
sort of deal. Like,
Rotate.
yeah, rotate.
Um, so I set up programming like that where it's like I know where people are on the on the trajectory and we got to find movements that are in line with where they're at. Some kids are basic reverse lunges with no weight or
Yeah.
step ups with no weight. And like, you better be doing that correctly. And that's just fine.
Which is
And
crazy
then,
because, like, man, there's days where I'm just like, I'm gonna do my reverse lunges with no weight today.
right, right. And it's a great movement. And then we got kids where it's like, all right, we're on 40s and you're 14 years old and you're reverse lunging and it looks fucking good.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of progressions. Um, so I would be really adamant about this is important. We don't need to add load yet, but
Yeah.
let's get down the skills, the process of what you're actually doing first.
And as I get into lifting more and more, which is weird because I've lifted ever since like freshman year of
Yeah,
high school and never stopped, right? Um, just focusing on control through the
yeah,
entire range of movement. I think these kids start feeling strong, so they get a little squirrely with it.
yep,
Teaching them how even with light weight or even a body weight lunge, how much just control matters.
yeah. It's a challenge coaching 13, 14-year-old boys in a weight room.
Yeah.
Like it is a challenge. They want to lift more weight. It's a game of comparison for sure. I think the girls do a better job of understanding it. Uh, it is challenging as a coach that you have to be aware that it's not just coaching like, hey, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's like you got to manage a lot of egos. You got to manage the social comparison in the weight
Oh
room.
my gosh.
It's tough, but it is important, and I value it tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah. Invaluable lesson to teach, especially at this age, is like when to stop at a bad rep.
Yeah,
Like I think at this age, reps in reserve is an RPE are great ways to program for
right,
them, help them understand what it feels like when your form starts going off and be like, hey, this is, I should probably stop one or two before
right.
this. And if I got to that fact of like, hey, I got a bench like halfway up and I start quivering and one side drops, I probably at this age should have stopped one or two reps ago.
Right. It's funny. I used to have like 40 kids in the weight room, and it would just be me
Oh
as a
God.
coach. 40 kids, and I have ages 13 to 18. And an 18-year-old boy, a 13-year-old boy,
Yeah.
that is completely different. An 18-year-old boy, it's like we're going trap bar deadlifts, loaded pull-ups,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like we're going bench press,
Yeah.
like we're moving weight, and it's controlled and it's good. 13-year-old boy is like can't even walk.
Yeah. I know.
And I that's a really hard environment, and there's coaches all over the country that do that. But I've always been on the side of like I'm going to be super adamant about the progressions. Like I am not going to put a kid underneath a barbell at all until I see really good foundational
Yeah.
movements. Like, I'm very adamant about like we're going to be actually more hesitant to progress than anything else.
It,
Um,
and I think one big thing to add to this, not just in the weight room, but in the water or on the mats, is skill and keeping skill under fatigue,
yep,
right? Like as the kids get tired, can they maintain good structure and good movement patterns? And can they recognize it, right?
right,
That self awareness is like one of the top things they can develop at this age.
yeah, yeah. And the water training for us is um, this. I mean, 13, 14 is kids can start training,
Yeah.
and my background was when I was 13, 14, and honestly 12, I think 12, 12, almost 13. I was training 20 hours a week in the water,
Yeah.
and I did enormous amount of volume, and it hindered my long-term development for sure, and it definitely has impacted the way that I coach
Yeah.
now. But we are, as in the swimming community, I think we're behind where we are really training kids with enormous amount of volume at such an early age,
Hmm.
which I do think that you can get enormous, like you can get big performance from kids at
D-
13, 14.
does high volume, like not acutely, but in the long run, do you get a lot more injury with that in the pool? Like you would like running, right? Like there's substantial injury
Yeah,
increase
I don't think it's
with
about
increased
injury. I
running,
really think it's about,
love of the activity.
I think low aerobic swimming
Yeah.
is no problem. You can do big volume, low
Yeah. Yeah.
aerobic
Yeah.
swimming. So like you put an 11, 12-year-old through low aerobic, skill based. Like we're going to go low
Yep.
intensity, but we're going to be focused on returns, and it might be a lot of volume. I think that's fine. The stuff that hinders long-term performance is early on, high intensity, lot of volume. So it's like
Mm,
there's volume in energy zones,
yeah.
and I think that the very early on, we're gonna go hard and a lot of volume, uh, hurts long-term
Yeah.
performance. And that was my experience. That's a lot of experience with kids around the country in swimming.
Are you still whooping all your kids?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you use so Chandler and I both wear whoops.
Yeah. I got a whoop.
Um which is like a fitness tracker, but a cool thing is you can set up as a coach so you can monitor your athletes and things like that. And I know that you're having several of your athletes on it. Do you use it at this age at all to see
It's
how much like volume they're doing and
yeah.
impact?
It's tough because I look at 11, 12 as completely different than 13, 14.
Yeah, that's true.
You could have a 14-year-old girl
Yeah,
or boy that's freshman in high school
it's true.
versus an 11-year-old that might be in sixth
Yeah, yeah,
grade.
yeah.
Um, I would be hesitant on adding variables like whoops or like, hey, we're gonna really track this stuff at 13, 14.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I do
As they
see
get
that
to
there is value.
yeah.
um, but not necessarily a push, you
Because
know?
man, because I think sometimes parents don't understand how much activity these kids get throughout the
Yeah.
day. Granted, they're in the classroom sitting around, but like they're still walking around. They still have a recess and lunch period. Man, most of the kids that I know are doing like multiple hours of athletics a night.
Yeah.
I get kids that are coming from wrestling practice to jujitsu. Like
Yep.
they're still running around. They're going through growth spurts, right? And that just um that passive expenditure that they have just from growing is insane.
Yeah.
Uh I feel like we miss that.
Yeah. And it's tough because, it's hard to put that into like perspective of what these kids are actually doing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I go to basketball practice and I go to some practice, I go to tennis. Um, I mean, that was my life
Yeah.
and that's what I did. It was hard. It definitely like hurt my performance
And I
as an
remember like
athlete.
summer going
But who
activity,
cares,
activity, activity.
Yeah.
What are your man talking about hindering long-term performance? What are your key staples of recovery for athletes this age?
Yeah. I mean, I look at recovery as for kids that are 11 to 14 is naturally these kids are like they recover way different than me and you.
Yeah.
And it's basic things like make sure you get a good meal, go to
Yeah, yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
Like those are very basic things, but they'll wake up the next day and they'll feel so much better. Like me and you, we go through a super hard, intense workout.
Yeah.
There's going to be more things that we have to do, but
Uh-huh.
it's like we can set up the foundations of like, hey,
Yeah.
this is important to rest up and get a good night's sleep and have a good meal. Those are basic things. But at 11, 12, you're not thinking like that,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
it's crazy. These kids are supposed to be at this age, athletes are supposed to be getting like 9 to 10 hours of
Yeah.
sleep.
That's one of the reasons why we have when I was a kid, we had Saturday morning practice at 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
and then we would go Tuesday, Thursday doubles, like 12, 5:30 in the morning. And of course, I'm going to bed at 11. I have always been on the side of like, dude, if we don't need to go at 5:30 in the morning on Saturday mornings, we're going to start at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like we'll start Saturday practices at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
versus the
Because there's
5:30.
there's no way, man, there's no way a kid that is doing an afternoon activity with homework and eating
Right,
and parents driving and then something before school is getting that many hours of sleep.
right.
5:30 or whenever, even at like 6 a.m. gym lift at the school. Like there's no way they're getting that 9 to 10 hours of sleep. And as a coach, you recognize like your kids walk in at, for a 4, 5, 6 o'clock practice, your kids walk in half asleep and you're
Yeah,
like, I know why you're tired.
right. And at this age, it's like the investment of valuing sleep over training is
Yeah.
I think there's more return on not doing doubles at 13, 14 years old and sleeping versus going to do more volume and swimming
Yeah.
early in the morning. And I think that in my community is actually that's that's not the normal opinion
Yeah.
in my community.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think this is also a great age to teach kids about nutrition and
Yeah,
giving them ownership over it. We try to do that when they're even younger, like, hey, what are good things to eat before a practice,
right.
right? What should you be eating before or during a competition between rounds? Uh, but man, at this age, especially as the kids want more output from their bodies, right? They have higher expectations and how much volume that they want to do, giving them ownership over what they should be eating and how to fuel themselves is another great opportunity for parents.
Yeah, 100%. And it also is a little touchy subject,
Yeah,
like as a coach.
for sure.
Um, but I feel like there is there's something there that as a coach you can put a lot of emphasis into that is not like, hey, you need to lose weight or whatever. It's like I'm trying to help your athlete
Yeah.
develop long term.
Man, I talk about man, I came from wrestling, right? Which
Right.
was
That's a bad, yeah.
which
That's
was
hard.
really hard. Especially for me, like I was cutting weight, not in middle school necessarily, maybe like just a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, when high school rolled around, and we'll talk about that in the next podcast. Like I was cutting weight all of the time.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's like there's at this age, it's basic things. All right, let's make sure everyone has a water bottle at
Yeah.
practice. You know, we're gonna get a snack when we get
Yeah.
home. Let's make sure we're eating before some eat. What are some things that we can eat? Well, are you gonna eat pizza or are you gonna eat this big, nice breakfast with a meat, a
Yeah. Yeah.
protein, a carb? Those are like small, basic things that me and you
Yeah.
are like,
Teach them how to recognize that like pizza sitting in your gut,
right?
is not going to feel the best, but maybe that equivalent amount of carbs in like banana and honey form would feel better.
Yeah.
Um, that's a challenge. But I think
Yes.
it's, again, we want to give kids as much ownership at this age as possible so they can learn how to do it as it starts to matter even more and more in their sport.
Right. Right.
Let's talk about competition in these ages. What do you like to look for? What are your tips for parents and kids approaching competition in this age group? Because you're starting to get like competitive,
Yeah.
right?
Like we have 11, 12s that go through. We call it. I mean, it's like a national events.
Yeah.
Like kids at 11 can qualify for nationals. Kids at 12 can qualify for nationals. 13, 14 can qualify for nationals. But we have to keep it fun because there's so much external things. And I hate saying like, well, have fun with it because that's such a
Yeah.
subjective thing. What's fun to me is going to be different than what's fun to you. But defining what fun means is important. And fun could be we're just getting up and we're competing. Fun could be, I'm challenging myself. It doesn't mean that like we can't put um we can't have goals, we can't have um specific meets that we're looking for or trying to perform at, but the idea of defining fun is important, and we can't put additional pressure on athletes at this age because we don't know what's going to happen the next X amount of years. So we can't talk about collegiate swimming. Oh, well, what do we got to do to set up Sally to go
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Cal Berkeley when she's 11, 12? Those conversations are just waste of time, you
Yeah.
know? So I think it's really about setting up the foundation of, okay, meets are fun because of XYZ. There's pressure in meets, but we look at that as that's our body's way of getting up and trying to do something, trying to perform at a high level. I think there's a lot of coaching opportunities there when it comes around competition. Because at this age, you develop sport specific values.
Yeah.
It's like if you're just emphasizing result, 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 then the kid is really going to sponge that up into the value of the result is the only thing that matters versus there's a lot of process
Yeah.
coaching that
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
on. For us, I think that's the real meat. Is like how can we implement process within competition,
And we
knowing that these kids are looking at
yeah.
meets that are higher level.
We've talked about setting like process goals, process objectives in our past episodes. What sort of process goals and objectives do you like to set for these like teenage
Yeah,
years when kids are either in practice or in competition?
yeah, and I feel like that gets set up early on. As
Yeah.
a 9 and 10-year-old. Hey, what are you working on? Oh, well, I'm going to try to maintain 3 dolphin kicks off each wall.
Yeah.
At 11 and 12, those should be the ownership of the athlete. Like we don't need to tell them. At 9 and 10, there's going to be a little bit more communication from the
Yeah. Yeah.
coach to say, "Hey, you think you could do this? Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
should do
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
At 11, 12, 13, 14, now the ownership turns it has to be bigger on the athlete.
Yeah.
The athlete has to implement these things. They have to be aware of them. When it comes to like process type goals, I think it's a progression, just like anything in that you do, whether it's skill based or in the weight room. Is there has to be progressions. Um, we're looking for skills.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is. There has to be a progression in the thoughtfulness and the mindfulness in skills, like race plans, executions, the way that you're looking at practice, your goals in practice. At this age, you can implement those way more than a 9 and 10-year-old.
Yeah. I know, especially with where the kids are at emotionally at these ages, I really like to make sure that they have some sort of process goal around remembering to like take a second and breathe. hard in swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming, you need to keep swimming. If you
Yeah.
stop swimming, you're definitely not going to win. But in jiu-jitsu, we have all these, we have transitions and we have positions, right? Where we move and then we kind of hold someone down for a second. Um, Maybe even 30 seconds. And in my one of my process goals I like with the kids at this age, is winning or losing when those control positions happen. Like, take a breath,
Yeah.
right? Take 3 just to recompose yourself. And I think it's, for one, it's great, get rid of that carbon dioxide and fuel your muscles with some oxygen. But uh, where the kids are at emotionally, if a lot of times at this age, you'll see comebacks happen less.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it's more of a jujitsu thing. But like, man, if I watch 5 and 6-year-olds, like one kid could be super losing and they don't get emotional. They don't really recognize that they're losing. They come back and win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But at this age, like they get so in their heads about it that I like introducing that to just give them like an emotional break in the match.
Yeah. That's actually reminds me similar to what I implemented, and I think we talked about it last time, which is the battle behind the block.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a progression. So, like as an 8-year-old, we tell kids, all right, when you get behind the block, put your hands on your hips like Superman, right?
Hmm.
And then they go behind the block, and they don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it.
Yeah.
And then at 9 and 10, we say, all right, when you're behind the blocks, what do we do? Oh, well, we put our hands on our hips like Superman, we make ourselves big, and then we take some deep breaths, and then they go behind the block and they do it. 11, 12, 13, 14, there is a step in that progression. Like we're trying to recognize why we do this. Like when we get behind the block, there's going to be these things that we can control in the moment, right? And we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. So one of the things that we do is we put our hands on our hips. Why do we put our hands on the hips? And at that point, we're coaching that up. Well, we got to make ourselves big, trying to display some good body language.
Yeah.
And then we're going to focus on our breath. How do we breathe? So at 9 and 10, it was like big inhale. Now it's like, all right, let's talk through it. Big inhale, gradual exhale. Focus on belly breathing, not breathing through the chest. Why do we belly breathe? Okay, well, that's going to calm ourselves down. Yes. 11, 12, we can do this.
Yeah.
And at 13, 14, there's even a bigger progression. But those small things lead up to like long term at 19, 20. They're still doing the same
Man,
routine.
I wish I did all that
Yeah.
stuff.
It's easy to do. It's hard to implement. It's very easy to
Yeah.
do, but it's very hard to implement. But if you set up those routines, that process at a young age, those processes keep going. And
Yeah.
I've seen it for years.
Man, it's so incredibly helpful because I remember when I was wrestling, like I would look across the mat and like, dude, that guy looks big,
Yeah.
right? And like instantly in my head, right? Because I
Right.
wasn't focusing the moment on myself and what is actually controllable.
Yeah. Here right now. Yeah. I think there's so much coaching that can be done at this age around that. You're setting up the foundation.
Yeah. Um, what do you like doing post event? Because these kids are getting smarter,
Yeah.
right?
Reflections.
Yeah, I think reflections, they could start remembering what they did, how they were feeling in the match, how the match went. Um, what do you anything specific you like to do with kids at this age?
Yeah. I mean, I think that so for us it's a little bit different. So you have a race, you have some downtime, you have a race. Usually how it goes is after your race, you go up to your coach gives you feedback,
Oh, we
right?
have the same thing. Like we'll do like
Same idea.
6 matches in a day with like 5 to 20 minutes between each match.
Right. Okay, so it's very similar like
Yeah.
process. And after your event, you go up to your coach gives you some feedback, you go warm down or take
Yeah.
care of yourself, get a snack, whatever. And then there's the after the meet, there's going to be some reflection. At 11, 12, 13, 14 is like we're just trying to start introducing the communication of athlete coach after an event, which could be a very an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Like, a kid had a bad race, kid had a bad match. If they're coming back, they're in this emotional state. There's going to be an opportunity there to coach something valuable and hopefully learnable. Now we'd want them to be in a less emotional state, but they're going to go through this process, and you have to be very aware of what you're saying. Years ago, I was at a meet and I was uh, listening to this coach kind of communicate with their athletes. And the first thing they would say every time they came back was, okay, give me one thing you were proud of. And I was listening to these kids come back and just be like, I was really proud of how I didn't give up, or
Yeah.
I was really proud of my turn there. I really was aggressive in the wall. And they just kept going through this thing. And even though it's such a simple thing, like, what are you proud of?
Yeah.
First of all, it gives the ownership of the athlete. The athlete, it has the ownership. They have the autonomy. They have to think about it versus like, hey, you did this well. You did this well. You got to get better at this.
Yeah.
Now it's just like me telling them versus the athlete reflecting on like, hey, what am I proud of? That's different than, hey, what did you do well?
Yep.
That even that
Yeah.
that idea of proud. What are you proud of?
Yeah.
Is different. It goes to a very controllable, process-based thing versus what did you do well? Well, I went at best time.
Yeah.
So I started into kind of implementing that in the
I
post-race
I
reflection. I
like
was like,
that.
what are you proud of? And then, hey, what adjustments are you going to make next time? And then similarly, they're coming up with, well, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then that's when, as a coach, you can say, hey, I totally saw that. I also saw XYZ.
Yep.
Let's try and do this. And then I've gone through so many battles with athletes after this race. Like, let's say it's a bad race. I've gone through battles that we go head and head where there's these kids are in an emotional state. They want to get something, some feedback,
Mhm.
but a lot of times they're not ready to receive feedback. So sometimes the best thing for them is like, hey, you
Just
need to
wait.
go
Yeah.
take care of yourself. When you come back and you're in a less emotional state, then we can talk.
Yeah.
And at 11, 12, that's really hard to do. Kid comes back, they're crying. Hey, I'm not talking to you right now. You're in an emotional state. You got to go take care of yourself. Come back when you feel like you're ready.
I
That's
f
hard to do.
I mean, I feel like that ties back you can tie that back to your, stoplight that you
Yeah.
use, green, yellow,
You're
and
in red
red.
light.
Like, if they're in red, it's not the time to
There's
be
no
giving
way.
them corrections.
Yes, no way. And coaches all over do this, and it's hard to watch because that kid is just looking for validation in that moment
Yeah.
versus like actual feedback. So it's like this game of like what's actually valuable here, and it has to be very short to the point. If they're in an emotional state or a red light, they, you might as well send them on their way
Yeah.
and or teach them like, hey, let's bring it down here. We need to get to yellow light. What are we
Yeah.
gonna do? Uh, for post meet stuff with 11, 12, like we've done things and I've done things where we're going to talk as a group. Hey, what did we do well as a group? Not so much on the individual stuff, but at 13, 14, I've made post meet reflection sheets
Oh,
and
that's
I've
cool.
walked through it, in its basic stuff.
Yeah.
What are you proud of? What adjustments are you making next time? What are your wins? But it's very process oriented.
Yeah.
Um, and that progresses to the senior or 15 to 18 level. But it's like the introductory of, all right, I'm after a meet, I can reflect on things. One of the things a, a good perspective I've had with kids is because usually and I have, and probably you too, you have a bad match, you're trying to forget about it. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really trying to think about it
Yeah.
because it's like, that sucked.
Yeah, yeah.
It just sucked. Similarly with athletes, is they're going through the same thing, is they're going to have a very hard time of reflecting on poor performance. But there's so much in poor performance that you can gain from.
For sure.
So the analogy I created years ago with a kid was, okay, you go to a meet, you swim a race, and it goes really poorly, really, really bad. But from that meet, you learned I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z because I saw this within my race. I had a really bad job of doing X, Y, and Z. So the next 3 weeks of practice, you go to practice and you're working on X, Y, and Z. And you're really, really like, I'm dialed in on those three things.
Yeah.
And then you go to a meet in a month and you step up and best times. Was
Mhm.
that a bad meet or a good meet? And usually they'll say, well, that was a good meet. And then you'll say, well, why? Well, because I learned X, Y, Z. So it's like those, that's what you're trying to teach is that there's performances that are going to go well. There's performances that are not go well. The ones that don't go well, there's so much information you can pull from and you can either ignore it or you can really, grab a hold of it and learn from it. And at 11, 12, 13, 14, this is like the foundation of that. Eventually, that's going to be, we know that it's not always going to be good,
Yeah.
but you're setting up the stepping stones for long term.
What about parents?
Yeah.
So we talked about like the coach's role. What do you like to see parents before, during, and after?
I think that the,
Drop them off and that's it. Drop them off, pick
yeah,
them up. Thank you.
I think that would be a perfect world, but that's not reality. I
Yeah.
think parents, all parents, no matter if they're like, you think about the worst parent you've ever dealt with, and I think about the worst parent I've ever dealt with, and I have a very clear vision of my brain who that is. But they, all of them, want the best for their kid.
Yeah.
Like they just want to. They're trying their absolute best, and whether it's their lack of experience,
And it's
knowledge,
short-term best. Like they want
right,
the best right now.
right now, and it's very hard for them, even though they know deep down this is probably not the best. It's very hard to them to see past here right now and into long term. They want to support, they want to help, they want to do what's best for their kid.
And they don't want to see their kid like sad.
Yeah, where you're like, well, this is kind of important for them to fail and learn.
Yeah.
So it's like
Growth mindset.
there has to be um, there has to be obviously communication between the coach and the athlete. The coach has to, similarly to the athlete, give some like these are our non-negotiables as a parent. This is what we're trying to implement in your kid. Sometimes it may not go well. Your
Yeah.
job as a parent is to do X, Y, and Z. Now that doesn't even if you do that, that doesn't mean you're not going to have parents
Yeah.
that are
What are what are some of the best things for parents to do before, during, after? Like perfect world.
yeah. I did an exercise years ago where I asked kids, and it was a trick. I asked kids, I gave them 3 note cards. As on the first note card, write 3 things that you'd like from your coach prior to the meet, during the meet, after the meet.
Yep.
And they wrote down their 3 things. And I said, all right, on the other 3 note cards, you're going to write down um, same idea, but with your friends. What do you want before the meet, during the meet, after the meet? Really, what I was getting at was now the next one, which is the parent.
Yeah.
Write 3 things down you'd like from your parents before the meet, during the meet, after the meet. And I had 60 kids do this. And I obviously took all the coaches one, read through it. I'm like, okay, great, got these. But I really was looking into what what are the kids saying about their parents?
Parents.
And I sent that out into a newsletter. And whether parents read it or not, and I almost guarantee you they did not read it. I can almost guarantee you they did not read it. But the they were so basic and so like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. 3 basic things was like before the meet, you don't need to talk about the meet or make the meet more important.
Yeah.
Like just bring me to practice. Act. One of the things that kids wrote down a lot
Feed
was,
me.
yeah, like act as if it was a normal week.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, you should probably act like it's a normal week.
Yeah.
Just because you got this competition doesn't mean you need to give me this special dinner or cater to me. It's just like
Yeah.
just act like it's a normal week. That means that your body language, the what you're saying is normal as if this is a typical normal week. Just because I have a big meet this weekend or a competition doesn't mean you need to change the way
Yeah.
that you're talking to me or the way that like your behavioral you change.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like that's such a simple thing, but parents do this all the time, all the time. And then the second thing is like after a meet, don't talk about the meet. Let's go get dinner. Seems like such a basic thing,
Yeah.
but it's like those parents are coaching them during the meet. They're going to coach them after the meet. They're going to say things or identify things that are just making the athlete really second guess on what
Yeah.
they're doing, or the athlete doesn't want to think about that. They
Yeah.
just went through a weekend of racing and a really an emotional
I
thing.
mean, talk about powerful question you can ask. How can I support you in this
Yes,
moment? Right? Like,
great,
how can I support you?
right,
What do you want?
right. Those are very basic things, but get neglected.
Yeah.
So my advice to a parent is to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Your kid's going to go race. Your job is there to support them. Now, support them is also a very subjective thing. Supporting them to one parent might be like, I need to make sure they have their Gatorade and I got to, set up their bag and I got to make sure they get, that is that you may feel that is supportive, but it really is hurting them and their long-term success. You want to be on the edge of like, I'm there for them, but I'm not their coach.
Because remember, they want ownership and independence
Yes.
at this age,
And
right? Like when they were younger, when they were 8, they needed a lot of help.
right,
If you let your 8-year-old go and pack their bag, they'd forget their swimming suit,
right, right.
right? Like
And
this age, they can handle the responsibility.
right, right. So it's a very fine line of what is support, what does that look like? What are the behaviors of support? And it's not packing the bag or making the
Yeah,
special meal. No, like those are great, those are cool, but it just furthers the idea of like the kid is just wanting, hey, just act normal. It's a normal week.
yeah,
You know, you start doing those things, you're actually putting the pressure on, hey, this is different. This is my mom is like
yeah,
doing these things, my dad is doing these things. You're putting pressure on the actual thing versus, yeah, it's competition. It's fun. It's normal.
yeah. Man, what else do you have for this age group? I
Yeah,
think I covered a lot of it.
this is an important age group. This is where kids really develop values. And it's like as a
Yeah,
parent, as a coach, as a friend, this is the time where we can influence really good habits, and it's also the time where it can other also go the other way. Um, and it's a fun age group though. These kids are fun. They're energetic. They're moving. They wanna learn
they learn fast. They start
very fast.
actually getting good at the sports.
Yeah, they can be so adaptive to skills.
Yeah.
Like you take a kid in September and then you look at them in November. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So much.
I mean, I'll tell jujitsu people, like, this is the age where you can watch kids and it looks like 2 full-blown adults doing
Yeah.
jujitsu. Like, their technique, their movements are there
Yeah. Yeah. I
with the
similarly.
right environment, with the right team, with the right coaching, with the right amount of dedication and time in the sport, like, they look good.
Yeah. Similarly.
That's cool. Well, man, great episode. Anything else we wanna touch on?
I think we covered a lot.
Cool. Well, this is the 3rd episode in the series. It's like the teenage-ish years. The next one is the last one. We're talking about like high school and beyond,
Yeah.
whether how long that takes you beyond that. Maybe just forever.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much and excited for the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.